It's always showtime at BetMGM Sports. You can make your first bet risk-free up to $1,000 when you sign up with the code Sherdog. Don't let another game day go by without having the ultimate sports betting app in the palm of your hand. Discover non-stop excitement with BetMGM's state-of-the-art technology and dozens of betting options, including live wagers, props, parlays, and much more. No matter what your favorite sport is or how you like to wager, find out why there's nothing like getting a W at the king of sportsbooks. Use the code Sherdog and make your first bet risk-free up to $1,000. Download the BetMGM app and sign up today. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Arizona, Colorado, Washington, D.C., Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Michigan, Mississippi, New Jersey, Nevada, New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, or Wyoming only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire in 7 days from issuance. Excludes Michigan disassociated persons. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP in Arizona, 1-800-522-4700 in Colorado, Washington, D.C., Louisiana, Nevada, Wyoming, and Virginia. Call 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help. In Michigan, 1-800-GAMBLER. In Illinois, Indiana, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, or 1-800-BETS-OFF in Iowa. In New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. In Tennessee, call the Red Line at 800-889-9789. In Mississippi, call 1-888-777-9696. Sports betting is void where prohibited. Promotional offers not available in Nevada. Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Betting Show with me, Sean Sheehan, here on Sherdog.com. And it's another UFC weekend this weekend. We're no Bellator, no PFL. We have an Eagle FC card. I'll run through a couple of bets on that as well. I saw the odds just went up this morning. But all my bets here today are from the UFC. So I'm going to give you 5 like I do every week with one. It's kind of a half flyer this week. I kind of like it this week, to be honest. But we will get into it anyway. Last week, not the best week in the world. I think I only went 1 from 5, so not brilliant. But the show came out a bit later last week anyway, so maybe if you missed the bets, and you know what, you're probably better off. But yeah, we'll get into the bets here anyway. And as I say always, this is an MMA show, kind of about betting rather than a betting show where they mention MMA. So feel free to disagree with me if you want. Let me know your bets in the comment section below. And I'm looking at this from an MMA point, looking at the fights, breaking them down a little bit and thinking maybe, that person is maybe a little bit too much of a price, or maybe they shouldn't be favoured, or whoever it might be, and we'll talk about it like that. And please, before you bet, please bet responsibly. Don't bet more than you can afford, and even bet way less than that. And let's just have some fun with it. Don't get into any trouble, or don't go overboard with it. This show is about having a bit of fun, about putting a fiver on the Saturday morning before the fights come on, and let's all keep it like that. Let's have some fun with it. Right, let's get straight into it. So, and I'm going to start with the UFC main event. I usually, or for the last while anyway, I've kind of been avoiding these main events a little bit, but this one I'm going to go for it. I'm going for my first bet. It's Holm to win by decision at minus 125. And now I've been looking at this. This price has changed a bit, but it's always around minus 195. So check when you're betting on this exactly what the price is before you go and do it. But if you're looking at a minus price for a prop like this, usually I would nearly say avoid it. But in this fight, I don't know. I think it is the obvious outcome of the fight, and it's close enough to even money, I think, for it to be a good bet. Having gone back and watched, I've seen obviously loads of both of them, but gone back and watched Holm and Vieira, it's a matchup that I think is going to be really hard for Ketlen Vieira She has some good wins recently. She beat Michel and she beat Tajara Eubanks and, Kat Zingano, and she's lost to Kunitskaya in that very, very close, weird fight, and Irina Aldana as well. But look, she is a good fighter, and we know about Holly Holm, the Ronda Rousey win back in the day. She's won her last two. She beat Aldana, she beat Pennington. So it's not like she's some spin force or anything like that. Now it is, a year and a half since she's fought that fight against Irina Aldana. She lost to Amanda Nunes before that as well back in 2019, and she's fought Cyborg, she's fought the best of the best in that division, and she's had contract disputes and everything like that. So it's hard to know maybe where Holly Holm is in her career. The one thing about Holly Holm as well, she's 40, and we've seen lots of lads fight up until that age. The history of men's MMA, but in women's MMA we don't see it that often, I suppose. We saw oh god, what's her name? Oh, she was a teacher. She the French name, Marion Renault. She was 40 when she fought, wasn't she? But for Holly Holm as well, she's probably the most successful fighter to get up to that age, I suppose, as well. And that's interesting. We talk about everyone. I was talking about someone last week and they were 33 or 4, and I was saying, sure, they might be getting on a bit. So when someone's 40 and they haven't fought that much in the last couple of years, it's definitely a talking point, and definitely can be something that you should look at coming in here. Now, I'm going against my own bet when I say that, but that's what this is about as well, talking it out and giving the plus and minuses, I suppose, for these. When I look at the technical matchup and having gone back and watched some of those fights as I mentioned, I just find it very hard to see Ketlen Vieira implementing her style against the style of Holly Holm. Like, if you've never seen either of them fight, I would suggest that they are almost polar opposites in terms of strikers, while being a little bit similar at the same time, if that makes any sense. Like, Ketlen Vieira is that kind of pressure counter fighter. I use that phrase a lot, but the McGregor type of fighter, the what was your man, Andre Filo type of fighter we saw a couple of weeks ago, that pushed you forward, hopes for a mistake and then counters, and throws a few leads as well, but they're looking for counters when they throw those leads most of the time and trying to catch you with big shots. She has a bit of wrestling, and she can do a bit of everything, but I think that's where she's at her best. Now, maybe some people will disagree with that, but that's what I saw going back and watching some of her fights. Holly Holm is, she was obviously a world champion boxer before she came over to mixed martial arts, and she is a long outside fighter, is what I would say. She is very much a point fighter, tries to win fights via decision, I would say. Although, she has 8 KOs in her 14 wins in MMA and 6 decisions, but invariably when she got to the higher level, she started winning, more decisions. Her last 3 wins in a row in the UFC are all by decision. So I suppose that kind of tells a story. And, her one win by knockout since the Holly Holm fight is Betch Correa back in 2017. So that's her one knockout win in the UFC in the last 7 years. So that isn't a lot. And it doesn't feel like that Ronda Rousey Holly Holm fight was 7 years ago, but here we are. So I like that's what Holly Holm is, an outside long fighter who doesn't land many strikes, who kind of punches from so far of a distance that she's hitting the air most of the time, and forces her opponents to try to break that distance, and they do it very unsuccessfully. She has very good footwork, and it's more evasive footwork than anything else. I wouldn't say it's like, Peter Yan kind of footwork or anything, which makes her like an unbelievable boxer in the pocket like Yan is. Well, at times anyway, before the last fight. So she's very much a defensive fighter who lands the strikes that she needs to win rounds and wins fights. And look, there's nothing wrong with that. It's not the greatest style in the world. She does take her chances as well. If someone gives her a big opening and they rush forward, she's happy to take that, and she'll throw a little left hook or she'll throw the high kick, as we saw in the Ronda Rousey fight. But a lot of what she does is trying to be very safe. And when you meld that with the style of Ketlen Vieira, who tries to get people to kind of come out to be unsafe so she can counter them, it doesn't really work very well, because Holly Holm is not going to launch in with strikes and get hit. She's just not. That's just not the way she fights. So Ketlen Vieira is going to have to change things up and do something different. Now, does she have the ability to do that, especially in a fight at this level over 5 rounds with someone like Holly Holm? that remains to be seen. I don't think we've seen her doing it. We haven't seen her doing it. And it'll take a lot to do that. Now, maybe the game plan coming in will be different. I watched a couple of fights there. She was wrestling a couple of times. She can wrestle. She can put you against the cage. She can take you down. Holly Holm, though, because of that footwork, it's very hard to wrestle, very hard to take down. So I don't know if that is going to be an issue for her either. Now, all right, it's going to be a good plan for her either. I think a plan maybe for Vieira is to push the pace on Holly. Just even if she's not, even if she's not landing shots, even if she's not hurting or anything like that, push the pace. Because Holly Holm in the past has been known to get a little bit tired. The Michel Tate fight, I suppose, is an example of it. A couple of others as well. Now, I wouldn't say it's like a massive flaw in her game. Like, I wouldn't say she's terrible cardio or anything like that. But maybe that's a way to do it if your cardio is better than hers. Now, Vieira probably doesn't have the best either in terms of like she's all, I always use the example Cain Velasquez. She's not Cain Velasquez, like, so I don't know how well that's going to look. All in all here, my thinking is that Holly Holm's going to win the decision because I think it's going to be a fight where not many punches are landed. We've had in the UFC and in Bellator over the last few weeks, we have had some dreadful co-main events and main events as well. And I wouldn't be surprised if this is another one and Holly Holm comes out on the right side of it. Now, as I said, I'll say it again, that 40 years of age thing is an issue. If it isn't an issue, though, I think she should win this fight and probably win it, in pretty dominant fashion on the cards while probably not landing that much. And it could be another one where we're talking about the judging at the end of it, but let's hope not. Okay. I'll leave it at that. Next fight I'm going for Felipe Colares to win, and he is fighting Chase Hooper. And just let me get the updated price here on him. He is minus 165 against Hooper. So, and that price has come in as well. I'm just I have my notes here from yesterday when I was writing down some of my prices, and he was minus 180. So into minus 165 now, and that's. I was taking him at minus 180. I think minus 165 is obviously it's even better. Look, Felipe Colares is not the best fighter in the world. Don't get me wrong. He is, he's not that great of an athlete. I don't think he hits that hard. I like his wrestling. He can strike as well. But I think the difference here, and he's fighting Chase Hooper. And look, for Chase Hooper, obviously very good on the ground, good jiu-jitsu. A very light frame, not the strongest in the world, has almost zero striking. I know he went and he trained at Wonderboy for a while, not sure where he's been since, but he doesn't look like he's going to knock anyone out with that striking or cause anyone any troubles with that striking. And that's going to be an issue for his game going forward, and I don't know how he's going to adjust that and fix it. Now, the reason I'm picking this victory here for Felipe Colares is simply out of toughness. Like, you look at the Steven Peterson fight and he just out-toughed him. Steven Peterson, a good fighter, not a great fighter, similar to Colares, or Colares even, Colares, I always mess that up. Slightly better than Colares, I would say, to be honest, but he just came forward, he took Hooper down. Hooper wasn't able to do anything on the ground. On the feet, he just ate him up. And anything that Hooper did, he just kind of walked through it. I think Colares will be a similar type of thing. I think he'll walk forward, land lots of punches. Chase Hooper will try to take him down. He'll probably pull guard and things. I think he'll probably get the fight to the ground, but I think Colares is tough. I don't think he's the tapping type or anything like that. And, not necessarily the tapping, that's the wrong way of saying it, but I think if he is caught in something bad, I don't think he'll be panic tapping, or I think he's a tough man. If he's, caught in an arm bar or something like that, he'll probably try to slam his way out of it or something. And it's that sort of toughness that I think, even if Chase Hooper has moments in the fight, I think Colares will be able to come through those moments. And I think he'll land some ground and pound. I think he'll push him against the fence and land some shots. And I think he'll either win a decision or maybe he'll finish Hooper. I think this is good matchmaking, honestly. I don't think you get many easier fights in the UFC for Chase Hooper. The problem is I don't think you can get a fight that Chase Hooper can win almost. And that sounds bad, but I just don't think I don't think he's going to be good enough to fight in the UFC. Now, he could win this one. Look, he could take him down and he could submit him, or he could pull guard and he could submit. He definitely has good jiu-jitsu and everything like that, but with like his frame and his lack of athleticism, I suppose, in 2022 MMA, it's going to be very, very hard. It's going to be very hard for him to succeed long term. And honestly, I don't see it. Now, Colares might be one he'll get over, but I just think if it gets into any sort of a duel, if you want to put it that way, if it's a tough matchup, if it gets into a world where, you know, both of them have got hit or there's a bit of blood flying or anything like that, I would pick Colares in that fight every day of the week. And I think that toughness is something that will see him through here, because he, as I said again, he's not the best fighter in the world. He doesn't have the best boxing. He isn't crisp or anything like that. Not amazing jiu-jitsu. He has good wrestling, I think, and okay boxing, better than Hooper. And I think that'll be enough for him. Right, my next bet here, I'm going for and this is an interesting one. Anderson Park. I'm going for the fight to finish inside the distance, plus 120. Gone back and watched a bit of both of them here this morning before I record this, and they're both very similar, I think, in the way they. Now, when I say that, I think maybe early days of Anders was similar to Jung Young Park, the way he maybe fights now, where he kind of come out. I think they're both very good athletic guys. We always hear about Eryk Anders playing football or hockey or whatever the fuck it was, football, I think, American football, and hear about his athleticism and everything like that, and I think Park is very good as well. He's fast and he's strong and he hits hard and he's able to throw his strikes. I think the thing about Anders as well, maybe he hasn't maybe thrown as much or opened up his hands as much lately as he has in the start of his MMA career, and he has 6 losses, and that's probably the reason why. But still, I think you'll see someone like Park, and I think he'll probably back his athleticism to beat Park's athleticism. You often see that in two guys who, you see it in Son Heavyweight a lot of the time. We know when the Matt Mitrions and the Brendan Schaubs and the other lads like that came over from football, that backed themselves as athletes, came in and they saw someone else and thought, I'm a better athlete than him, and then they kind of went toe to toe with him. We saw that a lot. And I think this will start to be one of those fights. I think it's going to be predominantly on the feet. If you look at Park, he has 13 fights, and okay, he's 3 submissions, but he's 5 knockouts and 5 wins by a decision, whereas Eryk Anders in his 14 fights, he's only 1 submission, 8 KOs and 5 decisions there as well. So they have a very good finishing rate between them as well. If we're looking, even if the fight goes to the ground, maybe someone could get caught in a submission, but I don't think so. I think look, it's not been a great time in the last while for Eryk Anders. He lost to Andre Muniz, who isn't losing to Andre Muniz, I suppose, these days. He beat Darren Stewart before that, and then he had the no contest, and he had the Chris Jotko loss. So it's been a tough kind of pandemic period for him with only that Darren Stewart win, and I think maybe he'll have a bit of a point to prove here, and he'll want to come out and he'll want to he'll want to land some shots and do well. Now, I think even if you look at Yong's last few wins, okay, he's won 3 fights in a row by decision, but I think a lot of his fights outside of the UFC, and maybe you can say, okay, the level wasn't as good there, maybe are he submitted I'm just looking here, he submitted Ray Cooper, so there's some good wins there as well. Yeah, I would probably just about favour what's his name, Jesus Christ, I have the worst memory of all time, Eryk Anders to win here. And I just think someone will get caught. I'm just looking at Park. Park is actually the big favourite here, but I don't know. I fancy Anders to open up a bit with these strikes here. I fancy him to not fight like he has been fighting, maybe, and I think that could be the difference. But I think this will be a fun fight. I think someone's getting put down at one stage in this fight, and I think someone will get finished. But look, we'll wait and see, and we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to it. And that's my bet. The fight doesn't go to decision, plus 120. Right, speaking of fun fights, let's talk about Michel Pereira versus Santiago Ponzinibbio. I'm going for Michel Pereira to win here. He's minus 120. The price hasn't changed since I was looking at it. Do you know what it actually has? He was minus 125 when I was looking at it yesterday. Minus 120 now. So he's come in a bit in the betting, or he's gone out a bit even in the betting, is it? I don't know. Anyway, this is a fun fight. This is a really fun fight. And we talk about athlete versus athlete. I think this is one of those fights too. You look at Michel Pereira and you look at the way he fights and the way he's kind of changed up his fighting. And you look at Santiago Ponzinibbio, who lands big shots, who's a very good counter fighter as well, and who can bide his time. And we saw in that Michel Baeza fight, isn't it? Is it Michel, his first name? It is Michel. He got hurt and he was able to come back, and he has that heart, after being out for so long and he had very bad injuries and health concerns and everything, to come back was phenomenal. I just think he's not maybe the same fighter since he came back, and not the same athletic fighter either, maybe. And I'm talking a lot about athletics today, I suppose, but it can be a big part of mixed martial arts, and especially in a fight like this where we see Michel Pereira an awful lot. We saw him in that the fight I just mentioned there a second ago, Andre Filo. And I think Filo, is one of the best, up and comers in the world, even though he's had 25 fights or whatever it might be. He's a very, very good fighter, and it was on short notice and everything. But I thought Ponzinibbio on that was like just a little bit faster, and even though I think Fialo maybe was, or not maybe better, but is a very good technical fighter, I just think at this stage of his career, I actually, and it's maybe a weird thing to say, but I think Ponzinibbio is maybe like a lesser version of Fialo at this portion. And now people listening to this are like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I haven't thought about that before. That just came to my head right now. Maybe I'll take it back in the future. But I actually think he is like I don't think he's as good a jabber and technical striker as Fialo. At this stage of his career as well, I don't think he hits as hard as Fialo, and I don't think he's as fast and as athletic. And if Pereira can beat Fialo the way he did, why can't he beat Ponzinibbio this way? Now, the name there as well, Ponzinibbio's name value, if Pereira wins this, he's probably going to get ranked. Or maybe anyway, and that brings a little bit of something different with it. That brings a bit of pressure. That brings expectation as well, and the fact that he's a favourite here as well brings expectation. Like Pereira, when he came into the UFC, he was flipping and diving, and I loved it. I would love if he fought that way forever. But there was no expectation on him really. The expectation was on him to have fun fights. And if that's all your expectation, you can live off that forever. There's no expectation, really. But when your expectation is to, and I've said the word expectation about 50 times, when it's to become a ranked fighter, when it's to become a champion, when it's to change your game up, to be a better all-round fighter, even though maybe not as entertaining, in my opinion anyway. I still love him and I still love his fights, and there's nothing wrong with it. But that's a different sort of pressure, different sort of expectations to be the best rather than to be the most entertaining. So that's a big thing, I suppose, coming in and leading into this. And that could affect him. It absolutely, we've seen it in people in the past. It's definitely affected him, and it could affect him as well here. I just think if Ponzinibbio can use his jab from the outside, the fact this is 3 rounds as well and not 5 rounds, I think is a big help to him. Use his jab from the outside, hurt Ponzinibbio early, but not overextend yourself and gas yourself out. If he does that, he could end up like Baeza, and he could end up fucking finished in the 3rd round or whatever it might be. I think he needs to be careful with Ponzinibbio. Sometimes you see guys and they jab or they hit someone with a big shot and they knock him down, and they don't finish him, and everyone's roaring like, Jesus, why didn't he finish him? I think Ponzinibbio or Pereira here, I think he's better off getting away from Ponzinibbio, letting him back to his feet, knocking him down again, and letting the referee decide when it's finished. Because Ponzinibbio, if he doesn't finish him, and if he gasses himself out, Ponzinibbio will keep coming and coming and coming. So I think if Pereira is smart, which I think he's been getting more smart, even though, I'll say it again, I don't necessarily like it. I like the mad, stupid Pereira, if you want to put it that way, but it's not stupid, it's brilliant. I think he'll win this. I think he's going to be too fast. I think he's going to be too long. I think he's going to be too powerful for Ponzinibbio here. Now, if Ponzi can get inside and he can land big shots and he can clip Pereira a few times early, he can absolutely knock him out. But I like Pereira here, and I think he'll win it at minus 120. Right, my flyer bet of the week. And honestly, it's not that much of a flyer. If I'm being honest, I think this will happen. It's Jailton Almeida to win the fight by a TKO KO, and as I look at it right here right now, let me just check and make sure again. Yeah, it's plus 375. Now it's not the biggest flyer bet of the week, and I want to get my flyer bets bigger actually than this, so this is maybe the last small one, so have a look for this one. He's fighting Parker Porter. If you don't know Jailton Almeida, he's the guy who calls himself the Brazilian Habib. Really good wrestler, really good ground and pound. I tried to watch some of his fights and see some striking. It's hard to find it. And now Parker Porter is a very good striker, so if he can keep the fight on the feet, you know, I don't know too much. Like, from the bits I've seen of Almeida on the feet, he doesn't look great. He throws a few front kicks and he tries to throw a few right hands, but he's all about getting the fight to the ground. Now, Parker Porter is a small, squat, heavy fucker in the heavyweight division, and he's going to be hard to take down, and he has a couple of takedowns of his own. But I think Almeida, I'll use the word athletic again, he's an athletic freak. He's coming up from 205. He's actually fought down at middleweight as well, and he's fought at heavyweight before. He's taking this around a month's notice, maybe a little bit more, which I'm sure will be fine. But I fancy him. I think all he needs is one takedown. He gets Parker Porter down, and I think he lands a lot of shots on the ground. I think he makes it really tough for him, and I think he'll get the finish here. Now, when you look at TKO KO, you're probably thinking, oh, he's going to knock him on the feet. I don't think that's the case. Now, maybe he will, you know, hopefully, you know, if you bet on it. But I think he's going to take him down, ground and pound him out. I think Parker Porter as well, he's such a big neck. Like myself, how are you gonna submit that man, you know? So I think if it does go to the ground, I think the submission is probably not as likely as it would be in most of Jailton Almeida's fights. So I think he will I think he'll ground and pound him and get the finish there. So plus 375 for that. I think that's a very good bet. And if you're betting on that, let me know, and we'll all have a look at it, and we'll all celebrate on Saturday night. Right. Let's run through some of the other bets while we are here. Do you know what? I want to talk just a small bit about Eagle FC. There's actually as well, before we get to that, there is an Aries card this weekend over in, I think it's over in France, and there's another one coming up in a few weeks as well, and there's some very, very good guys in that. Ian Entwistle, who used to be in the UFC, he's on that. He's actually an underdog in that, but there's, if you're looking at the prices, that Liana Georgia is on that card as well. Apparently they're paying really good money, and they're doing some good stuff over there, so there's some good fighters, and Aries is definitely a place to watch out for. As well, so keep an eye on that. Eagle FC as well this weekend. Junior Dos Santos here. The prices are kind of just coming in different places, but I'm sure they'll be up in BetMGM, I suppose, as we get closer to the fight. But just a couple of maybe the reference prices here, and if you can find betting later on in the week, please do it. And obviously over at our friends in BetMGM, do it there if you're in the States. Junior Dos Santos is a big favourite over Jorgen De Castro. He's minus 330. De Castro is plus 255. An interesting one because De Castro hits hard, you know. And where is Junior Dos Santos in his career? Is he still in it 100%? Is he still taking it seriously? Like Junior Dos Santos 5-10 years ago, you know, he probably would have been plus 2,000 here to win this, but it's a little bit different these days. I'd probably still pick him to win, but that's an interesting price there. Hector Lombard, he's minus 110 over Thiago Silva, who's minus 120, just a favourite there. I'd probably go for Lombard, honestly, there. Very interesting fight. Dennis Hughes, Dylan Mantello, plus 190 for Hughes. Mantello's minus 240. They fought before. Mantello won that fight, but it was a great fight, and you know, Hughes could beat him this time. It might be an interesting one, and you can check out the rest of the bets for that card over wherever you find your bets. In the UFC, then Holly Holm, she is with BetMGM. She's minus 250 plus 200 for our good friend Ketlen Vieira. I'll give you a couple of the over under 4.5 rounds is. Let me just look here. Minus 220 for the over 4.5 rounds. The under is plus 180. So, you know, I wouldn't be backing that. It's probably gonna go to decision, but minus 220. Not a big fan of that. If you fancy Holly Holm to get the KO, plus 350. If you fancy Vieira to get the KO, plus 1,300. It's not a bad bet. That's not like Holly Holm is 40. I'll say it again. Is she going to be the same fighter? I don't know. Michel Pereira is minus 125, plus 105 for Ponzinibbio. Chidi Njokwani, that's an interesting fight against Todorovic. He's a big favourite, minus 225. I'm kind of a little bit surprised by that. Todorovic is plus 190, sorry. Anders plus 175, minus 225 for Park. Poliana Viana is plus 110 over Tabitha Ritchie, minus 135. Alan Amadovsky plus 160. Joseph Holmes minus 200. My guy Jailton Almeida is minus 600. So if you fancy him to win by KO, as I said, plus 375, that's a very good bet. And Parker Porter is plus 425. Probably not a bad bet either, if we're being honest. If we can land one punch, I'll be that. Morales, minus 165, plus 135 for Medic. Jonathan Martinez is the big favourite at minus 220 against plus 180 Vince Morales. Chase Hooper, plus 150. I think that's too low, to be honest. Colares, minus 175, 185 here, and 165 in other places as well. And Elise Reed, minus 175, Sam Hughes, plus 145. So yeah, that is it for this week. Let me run through my bets just quickly again. Holly Holm by decision, minus 125. Felipe Colares, minus 165. Michel Pereira to win straight up, minus 120. Anders and Park fight doesn't go to a decision, finishes inside the distance, plus 120. And my flyer is Jailton Almeida to win via TKO KO at plus 375. Alright everybody, that is it for me, Sean Sheehan here on Sherdog.com for the betting show. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all next time.